Hi everybody, this is Cindy from Ideas Times 2. Welcome back to our channel. Today I have part 2 of my series, Making a Junk Journal Start to Finish, cover to cover, end to end. And so my last video, we made the cover, and so this is, if you missed that video, this is what we made. A fabric spine cover, hardcover. And since that video, I finished embellishing the front. I think we did this on the video, and now it's ready to start filling and embellishing and doing all of the other stuff. So I'm going to put this aside, and for the inside of the back cover, I want to make an envelope flip. And so this is going to be a pretty simple envelope flip, nothing too crazy or too elaborate. I'm just going to use these 3 large envelopes. These are 5 by 7 inches because my journal is 9 by 6. I think this is a good size. And you need to at least be thinking about this and how you want to do it. And, you know, start the process before you glue your end papers in. So I haven't started making the insides of the journal yet, and normally I would do this kind of stuff last, but I'm doing it first because when this is done and all the envelopes are filled, it's going to be a little bulky, and I don't want it to be so bulky that it makes the journal, you know, alligator jaw or anything like that. So I'm doing that first so that I can make alterations to the signatures, or signature. This is going to be a Fat One signature journal. I can make alterations to that before I'm finished. So that's why I'm doing this now. If you would prefer to save this for the end after everything is done, that's fine too. So what I'm going to need for this part of the process is just my end papers, and I'm using a Craft Consortium paper, and it's 9 by 6, which is the size of my cover, and it needs to be the exact size of the cover because if you remember from the last video, the cover is just made out of cereal box and cardstock, and so I want to make sure the end papers completely cover the box. So I'm using this iris paper, and as my theme is more or less irises. It's spring. Technically, my theme is spring, but I have an overabundance of irises, one of my favorite flowers. So I'll put that off to the side. And so you'll need your end paper, and then how many envelopes you want to use, and I'm just using 3. So with this envelope, I'm going to put on the left side, and so I want this to open from the top. So before I do anything else, I am going to just trim a little off the top, just enough to be able to open it. And I'm going to make a large tag to put inside, and I want it to open from the top. So I cut far enough that it opened the envelope all the way. It doesn't matter because I'm going to cover the back with some paper, and I'm going to go ahead and just put just a tiny little dab of glue there to hold it down. But I'm going to cover the back because I'm going to put my journaling card through the top. I don't need to have this part open. So this one is opening from the top. My second envelope, I'm going to just leave. I'm going to use it like a pocket, and I think I'm going to make a small journal to put inside a little notebook, and so I'm going to put it in this way. So this one I'm going to leave. This one, however, I want to open from the side. I'm going to put a card in from the side, so I'm going to do the same thing as I did on the other one. I'm going to trim. Actually, this one I'm going to use my paper cutter for. And this one needs to be trimmed a little bit more to make sure that everything folds and doesn't get caught up on each other. So I'm going to take 1/4 of an inch off of this one. And then I'm going to make a journaling card to go in from the side. All right, so before I do anything else, this one I can just leave off to the side. These I am going to glue together. So this is the one that doesn't have any openings around it. I'm going to eventually here be gluing to my end paper, and then this one is going to fold in like this. So I want to glue this to this. And I always double check and triple check to make sure I don't accidentally have my openings going the wrong direction. Not that I've ever done that before and have a reason to double check myself. All right. Fold that over. And that should be, make sure that glue stays down. All right, and there's my opening here. This one I don't have an opening on. And now, before we go any further, before I glue these down to the end papers, I want to cover the backs of this one and this one. And then we can decorate. I don't know how long it's going to take to do the rest of the steps. We may not get to the decorating today, but let me grab the papers I want to use for my embellishing, and I can't quite reach them, so I'll be right back. Sorry about that. I forgot I had moved these to another, just out of reach. And since I'm doing mostly irises, I have some digitals I thought I would use. And one reason, instead of using cardstock, is I don't want this to get too big and bulky on the outside when I'm going to be putting things in the envelopes. So I have 4 different papers here that I'm going to use for this. And I think I'm going to go with this one. Grab my paper cutter. And the envelope was 5 by 7, so I'm just going to trim this down to 5 by 7. And to use the arm on this to make sure that I don't mismeasure, which I happen to do an awful lot. Sometimes it's, no matter how careful I am, I make mistakes when I'm cutting. kind of mathematically challenged. So that should fit perfectly. Want to make sure that it still folds, so without paper getting in the way, so I always double check before I start gluing things down. If you want to do some stitching on here before you glue it down, that would be fine. I'm not going to, I don't think, on this one, but I do want it to be aged, so I'm going to ink that up. And when I glue papers to envelopes, you know, you have to be really careful so that you don't get glue in here, otherwise you won't be able to put anything down. But you do have to make sure that your paper is, you know, glued, you know, everywhere it can be. So usually what I do is just put a bead of glue around the outside edges, and then I'll go to the envelope and kind of fill it in on the envelope. And I do a bead of glue all around all four sides, so that on this envelope it'll be opening from the top. And a little crooked there. And then the front I'm going to leave blank for now, because I am going to embellish it, but I don't want to completely cover it. The inside you're not going to see unless you flip it open, so doing a digital works for me for that. Also, before I glue this into the book, I like to make sure that the glue, you know, I didn't mess up on the glue, and that the envelope will completely open, which this one will. It'll be fine. So what I'm going to do is glue the flap to the back side of my end paper. And I'm putting this one close to the bottom. I want to have kind of a staggered look on the flip. Isn't the back cute too? That's the worst thing about double-sided paper. I love double-sided paper, but I hate it when both sides are really cute and you have to cover one side up. So there's the first flip, and it'll open from the top. Now on the other side, this one I want to open from the side. So for this one I'm going to trim, and I want to trim a little bit more on this one than I did on the other one, and the reason for that is because I don't want the envelopes to since I'm gluing these two envelopes together, I don't want it to get caught or, you know, bunched up on the inside. So I'm going to take about 1/4 inch. Off of the side of this envelope. on the other envelope, I'm going to leave it intact because I'm going to use this one as a pocket this way. So, this one I'm going to glue here, and then this one I want to glue like this, so that when we open it, it'll flip here, and then this one will flip this way. So they're going to be, when I glue them, I'll put upside up so that I don't accidentally glue the wrong sides, which I have done before. I'm sure none of you guys ever make mistakes like that, but usually when I'm crafting, I've got videos playing or music playing or the cat's walking back and forth and I get distracted. And so sometimes those distractions lead to mistakes. Speaking of cats. So I'm going to glue this one, this flap to the front side of the envelope. And you want to make sure, just before the glue dries, double check that it will flip. So that looks good. And I'm going to cover this up so it doesn't matter. Oh, sorry, Lizzie. So for this one, I'm going to glue this one towards the top so that I've got kind of this staggered look, not too close to the top, but kind of about there. All right. I think there's another cat outside, and it's got my cat all excited. She's walking back and forth from one window to the other, watching whatever has got her attention out there. All right, so here's the basic flip. And I'm going to leave this as is. This side I'm going to cover just like I did this one, and then I'm going to embellish both of these sides, and then put some stuff inside of them. So before I put this in the journal, I'm going to go ahead and put an image on here. Get out my handy dandy paper trimmer. And 5 inches. By 7. All right, a little bit of ink. Might actually add a lot more ink since I didn't coffee stain these. They're looking kind of white. And I'd like a little bit more age, I think, on them. But I'm going to do exactly the same on this that I did on the other one. I'm going to put a bead of glue on all four sides, just on the edge. And come back in and kind of fill it in. Whoops, I got a little too close to the edge on that one. I may have to erase some of that glue. All right. Just put my fingers right in the glue. And I forgot, I trimmed this down a little bit more, so this will be going right to the edge on the inside. There we go. Those are really pretty papers, aren't they? And make sure that the glue is not where it shouldn't be. All right. So, I think next I'm going to go ahead and attach this to my end papers, my end paper, I should say, and before we glue it down, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this really pretty purple ribbon, and I'll make a tie closure. So what I'm going to do is, in fact, I may even measure instead of just eyeballing, since everything is a little off center, intentionally off center. What I'm going to do is glue the ribbon to the back of my end paper. And to flatten it as I go. I want it crinkly on the front, but I do not want it crinkly on the back, because then it won't lay flat. Okay. And the reason I'm doing it this way is so that when I glue this down, the ribbon will go around and keep those envelopes from flapping every which direction. So I want to be like that. And, oops, the glue cap was glued to my fingers. And you might think it would be easier to glue this on after you're done binding. The reason I don't do it that way is because when I get to this stage, I like to flatten the book And with this type of cover, it doesn't, you can't stack books on top of it to flatten it, while glue is drying when it's got the signature in it. This style just doesn't work for that. So that's the reason I'm putting this in now. You may find if you give this a try that you have a better way of doing it. And if you come up with a better way, I'd appreciate it if you would share. But it does help having that ribbon on there to keep it from, everything from flapping around while you're binding. So all right. So that's going to be super cute when everything is decorated and embellished. There's our tie, and double flip here and one flip here, and I'm going to add a pocket. With a tag in it, I think. And so I'll make a large card or tag to go in here, another one in here, and I think I'm going to make a little journal to go in this one. And I double check everything is going the right direction. Yep, the slits are all on the right side. And that's the simple construction. And we're at about 20 minutes, so I'm going to set this aside underneath my paper bin to give that a little chance to dry on there. And put these away. I'm going to make another cover similar to this, but smaller. I want to make a short, chunky version of this. I'm on spring break this week, so I'm hoping I can get a few things made. Some things for the shop. I've got a swap coming up, and I have not had a whole lot of motivation so far this spring break for crafting. I've done a lot of other stuff, oil change and car wash and groceries and whatnot, but not a whole lot of crafting going on this week. All right, I think I'm going to go ahead and use one of these cards, craft paper cards, and I need to trim it down just a little bit because I made the envelope a little smaller. So, because this is the perfect size for one of those envelopes, but I need to trim it down just a little bit. And I want round edges. Excuse the close-up on my arm. And let's see. I've got so much stuff laying around, little scraps of paper, some music sheets, all sorts of things. But for these, my intention was to use these for cards and tags. Maybe this one here. Since it's a big card, it can handle a big image. papers are so pretty. I cannot remember who I got them from. Might have been Victoria Designs, but I will look it up and put a link in the description box below. I love spring flowers. My mom had a lot of irises, purple irises, in the house that we grew up in. She had always had a garden, a big garden. She still has a garden, not quite as big, but she had a flower bed full of irises when I was growing up. And here where I live, the daffodils are all in bloom. We are not to the iris stage yet. Today I don't even think it got above 40 degrees, so it's pretty chilly today. But we are not buried by snow like a lot of the country is right now. You can walk across that, it's okay. There you go. Okay, well, that's a start. Excuse me. Keep going. Keep going. All right, what else do we need on here? Some green, I think. I've got this dark green. But I also have some of this lighter green, which I kind of like, picking up that color right there. Okay. Green is my favorite color, and I just love this bright green on this paper. All right. I hope everybody is doing well, staying healthy, and looking forward to the summer. Hopefully we'll be getting out and being able to travel soon. I got my vaccination, finished my vaccinations yesterday, so a couple more weeks and hopefully I'll be staying healthy. All right. I'm going to add some sewing, and I'm going to add a tab on here. So I don't think I'm going to do a whole lot more. Since it's going in an envelope, I don't want it to be too thick and bulky so that it doesn't fit back in the envelope. So, using Fabri-Tac today. As most days, it's my preferred glue. put that here, kind of centered on there on the page. Hey Lizzie, what are you doing? You already ate dinner. I'm not going to feed you again. I got my cat new dishes, and they were delivered on Sunday, and I was so excited because her old ones were so grungy and I could just not get them clean. And the placemat that her dishes were on, you know, it was kind of a hard plastic, and it was slippery, and so stuff would slide all over the place, and it was just time to get some new ones. So I got her these dishes that are, you know, supposed to be healthier for your cat because, you know, the angle, they, you know, allow the cat to eat, and you know, I kind of fell victim to the advertisements, and they're just, you know, super pretty, nice and clean, nice and, you know, shiny, and she hates them. She won't eat out of them. My cat is so picky. But it's too late. She doesn't have access to the old ones anymore, so she's hopefully going to adapt to them. Right now she's been like taking the kibble out like one piece at a time and eating it on the floor rather than from the bowl. All right, let's see, what kind of a tab do I want to put on here? I think I want a paper tab, probably a craft paper tab. All right. I do not know what I would do without my tab punch. I do know. I've had a couple of other tab solutions. I like my tabs to be doubled over, so it's poof. All right, and I think I'll just put this up on the top, and I'm going to go over the edges with the sewing machine. You know, none of the things you know, that I've done today, you know, require a sewing machine. If you don't have one or you're not comfortable sewing on paper, it doesn't matter. None of this has to be sewn. For the cover, I think the cover kind of tutorial that I did the other day, I think that is probably best sewn, but for the flip, nothing needs to be sewn in for the flip or the cards or embellishments, but I like to sew, and for no other reason than it's just my preference. So I'll give this a little shot of ink as well. So that's just my personal preference. Let's see, should I put coffee stained paper on the back? I kind of think so. Let's see if I have any in my super good. Okay. Just a little swipe of ink. It's okay, you can walk through. My goodness gracious. Go on. Okay. Now I've got to wait for the glue to dry on that before I can sew, but that's okay. All right, so this has been pressing, and I think it's probably pretty good. And hopefully, I was hoping I cut it down enough and didn't make it so big that the tab was in the way, but I think I measured well enough. It should not stick out. There we go. All right, so it's 34 minutes. My goal is always around 30 minutes, and that is now 100% of the cover construction. And for this journal, I'm probably going to do a kind of a wraparound closure because of the envelope flip. I don't want to, do anything, another kind of closure. So that's the construction, and I will be back with a part 3. I may just do part 3, finishing up the embellishments and that on the flip. Probably what I'll do. And so there we go. Our cover now, and then our envelope flip. Right now it's kind of boring. I apologize for that, but I'll be back with embellishments and stuff to put inside of them on my next installment. So thank you so much for joining me today. I hope that you enjoyed my tutorial, and that you give this envelope flip a try, and that you have a fantastic day. I hope everybody stays healthy, and that you're happy and you're safe. And if you haven't already subscribed, please do so. We so much appreciate our subscribers. And if you want notifications, just click on that bell. And I will see you in a couple of days with my next installment. So thank you so much, everybody, and I will see you later. Bye-bye.